All right. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Superwives of the NFL. My friend, Gemmi Schottenheimer, now the First Lady of the Dallas Cowboys, is joining us again.
Hi, Stacey. Good morning. It's so nice to be with you again.
I know. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's been a whirlwind to say the least. It's been a crazy month. I think it's been a month now, almost a month. Yeah, 3 weeks, something like that. It's been crazy.
So, are you accustomed to people referring to you as the First Lady now?
It feels so strange to me because literally it went from where the season ended and thought, where are we going to be next year to now this. So it's definitely been an adjustment to step into this role, but it's wonderful. And we're so incredibly blessed and honored. And it's a beautiful thing. So we're super excited.
So
But
I
no, I'm
wanted
not really accustomed to that yet. I'm working my way through that one.
I know it's a little awkward because it's just awkward. It's such a heavy title, right?
Right, it is. And when people say that to me, I realize that it's a lot and that it's a role that I will now step into, that I've stepped into, and that I will have a huge part in this. And so I just want to make sure that I honor that and do it the right way. And so it feels it's taking, a little bit of time to get used to it, but I think we'll do great. So.
Okay, so there's so much I want to talk about, but you talk about honoring the role and stepping into it. How do you foresee or have you thought about what your role as, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys is going to be? Because this is such a storied institution in football, and there's pressure with any job, but with the Cowboys, this is really a big deal. So have you thought about, the type of first lady you want to be or what you want your role as a head coach's wife to be?
I have, Stacey. I think I've slowly, through the years, been praying that a head coaching opportunity would happen for Brian. So I think I've sort of, through the years, kind of been putting this together in my mind, what it would look like, never really thinking it would be this franchise necessarily. But I think more than anything, I want us to be known as a couple who brought an organization together and put family and relationships first. I saw how I've often referred to, how I feel about Marty and Pat and the way they did it in Kansas City. And I know how important that is. And I hope that I know that we will make that a priority to be relationships first. That comes above anything else. It's like Brian always says, the X's and O's will come. It's the relationships that truly matter, because if you're not a united front, then it's really, you're kind of behind the eight ball to begin with. So I think more than anything, I hope and pray that we will be known as a couple that came together, that brought people together, that valued relationships. And I think that truly that had a lot to do with the decision that was made for Brian to become the head coach, because within the organization, he is revered for his relationships, for the way he brings people together. And so I think that that's something that's always been really important to us. And I know that that will even more so moving forward be a big part of who we are together.
And I think that's one thing, and I've said this before, that I think you and Brian do a great job of, is you create, just an atmosphere where people feel like family. There's a lot of, you guys will invite people to go, away with you. You're constantly like, let's get the private room at this place, and all the coaches come and they bring their wives. And I remember when we were with the Jets, the guys had a night where Brian would always host everybody at, I'm in New Jersey now, Roots, I think.
Yes,
And
they were Roots. Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, way back. Yeah.
yes, Anthony really looked forward to that, once a month when Brian would get all of the guys together. And I think you're right, not even realizing it at that time, it's the relationships. Because I would say to him, they would go back and forth on the sideline sometimes. And I would say, I just don't understand how you and Brian can go at each other, and then the parking lot afterwards, you're having a beer.
Having a beer together. Yeah. because as women, I think that we sort of organically are like, we just had a fuss or an argument, and I'm upset with you right now. But men can, especially football coaches, they can hash it out and then walk out, and their relationship is what it was before. So I think that's a real gift for guys to be able to do that. I think that I've through the years been able to learn how to do that a lot better, because you can't take all of this personal. You really can't. There's so many emotions that go into all of this, and to be able to sort of leave that in the locker room and walk out and just realize that we're all in this together, and you may not agree with the decision that Brian made or Aylin made, that but to respect the chair that you sit in, I think is really, really important. And I think more than anything, Stacey, is like, for me, it's a little bit of a mind shift to sort of sit in this role now, this chair now, and because me, like, I'm just one of the girls. That's how I want to be known. I think more than anything is I truly won't ever change that, because I've been where everybody else is, and I will be there again one day, I'm sure. So I understand and respect all of those feelings, as Brian does. So I think that's just sort of an insight that he and I both have. Again, another life lesson that we've learned from Marty and Pat is how to really understand that it's one big team, and it doesn't matter what your role is. You've been there, you're going to walk through it again, and just respect the fact that it's just football at the end of the day. And if you let it affect you at a deeper level than that, I feel like I would have lost a lot of relationships through the years.
I totally agree with that. I agree. I want to backtrack to something you said. So you guys were there with McCarthy. And your friends, and then he doesn't come back, and so I did not reach out to you, but I'm thinking, okay, well, they could be moving, we'll know when we know. Right. And then I read that Brian's interviewing, and this is what Anthony said, because Anthony's not plugged into social media, so half the time he doesn't know. Right. So I said, hey, did you see that?
He's smart.
He's smart, he is. Yeah. I said, Brian's interviewing for the Cowboys job, and he said he's got the job. He said if they interview him, they will hire him.
Wow.
And but you go from thinking, okay, our head coach is leaving, we could be moving, and then the roller coaster ride of a couple of weeks later, your husband's the head coach.
Yeah.
What was that experience?
I'm sitting in his office right now. I mean, it's crazy. I'm going to be in Dallas looking for a house. But anyway, I'll tell you what, Stacey, I packed. So season ends on Sunday. We lose to y'all. Great one, by the way. And again, another example of it's just the beauty of the business. Like, we lost, but we lost to great friends of ours. And so you always just, you cheer for people. But anyway, season ends. I go back to our condo. I pack 4 suitcases on Monday. I am leaving, going to Nashville, truly thinking that this condo that we're in across the street, we're about to turn in our, notice that we're moving, truly have no sense of where we're going. And when I tell you, we had really come to this place in November, maybe December, where we thought, you know what, maybe this idea of him ever becoming a head coach had passed him by. Because when we were in New York, you remember he was the hot coordinator and had a couple opportunities there, never panned out, and so for a number of reasons. But so then we've talked about this in November, like, you know what, maybe this has just passed us by and it just wasn't meant to be, but it's been a beautiful, incredible journey. Maybe you consider, going to college, being a head coach in college, kind of, talk to our agent about that. So fast forward the end of the season, and I mean, truly, when I tell you, I packed 4 suitcases and I was leaving for Nashville on Monday. And I think there was just some conversations that, that led him to believe later on in the week that maybe, we might have an opportunity here. And so we went back to Nashville and just kind of surrendered and said, you know what, God, whatever is meant to be, wherever we're supposed to be, we know that you're going to lead our steps. And I can tell you that probably that time of year, I'm kind of neurotic. Like, my mother-in-law and Colleen Schottenheimer used to always say, the wives should literally pack up and go to a spa for like 4 weeks when the season ends and just come out and be like, where are we going and where's my next place? So I really, for the first time in I would say a number of years, I had this piece of like, you know what? I know that God's going to use us and use him wherever he wants us to be. And so we both felt this piece of just like, we're going to land somewhere and it's going to be great, and it's where we're supposed to be. So I think a lot of it too was our perspective. We had our daughter's a senior in high school, and so we really were like, you know what, wherever it is, we're going to be empty nesters, and we're going to give it our all. And so when this happened, it was like, it just was such a God thing, because it was like, if this opportunity had presented itself last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, I know that I couldn't have given it my all, because I would have had the responsibility of my kids and wanting them to finish school in Nashville and have those roots. So the timing of all of this is just truly amazing, and we just attribute it to the Lord's plan for us. So it was, as this thing started to unfold and we realized that there was a real opportunity here, it was kind of hard to just wrap my mind around that, because I'd gone from like pulling 4 suitcases through the airport, with Brian, like thinking we're done in Dallas. And so that was definitely a sort of a mind shift. I very quickly had to kind of wrap my brain around that. And yeah, when it happened.
Okay, so Sutton and Sassy. Sutton is in college. Sassy graduates this year.
Graduates from, she graduates from high school in May, and then she goes to Auburn in the fall. So then we'll be totally empty nesters. And so, so I just feel like, again, it was like sort of, again, my perspective is I felt like God was like, waiting for for his timing, the perfect timing on this. And it was like, all of a sudden, it's like this opportunity presents itself at the perfect time. And I just have no doubt that that's just, part of the plan. And so now we're both just going to be able to, give it our all and be the face of this franchise and lead and love. And I have no doubt that we're ready for this. Brian's been preparing for this his whole life. And I think...
How long? I mean, Brian's been coaching for what, 25 years?
25 years, yeah. 25 or 26.
And it's taken 26 years to finally get a head coaching job.
So you know what, Stacey? He even mentioned this in his press conference. Like, this should truly be a testament and inspire coaches across the board. Because this could have happened to him back in the New York days, right? When he had an opportunity with Miami and Buffalo and then even interviewed with the Ravens when we were in New York too, and Harbaugh got the job. But all that to say, and then it was just kind of this just really kind of, great years, playoff runs and all that stuff, but never really in a position to like be interviewing for head coaching opportunities again. And so that's a long time, like 18 years, I think it was, without the opportunity to interview. So I think more than anything, he hopes that this inspires young coaches or coaches across the board to be like, you never know he always says, you never know when you're being evaluated. You're always being evaluated. So, he went from a consultant 3 years ago. It's like he says, 3 years ago, I was a consultant for the Dallas Cowboys. And the next year, when we thought we were leaving Dallas, he became the offensive coordinator. And then 2 years of being the coordinator, and then now he's, the head coach. So I think you never know when something's going to present itself, and you have to be ready, and he's ready. He's beyond ready.
Well, you are ready too, because you make a good point. The kids are gone. This is going to be a lot of pressure and stress on you, and now you can fully throw yourself into this because you won't have as much responsibility with the kids, which is wonderful for you.
Absolutely. It's really exciting. It was funny because I kind of went through this like funk of like, who am I? What am I going to do when Sassy graduates? I don't even know who I am. I started out in football with the Redskins, and they were the Redskins at the time, right. And met Brian working for the Redskins, and then I, just walked away from what I thought would be an NFL career, marrying an NFL coach, and then for all these years, and then all of a sudden my kids are going to be out of the house, and I'm like, I don't know who I am, and so I really struggled with that in the fall, and then literally it's like this presented itself, and I'm like, this truly is like a full-time job for me, because my prayer is that the Wives organization just really comes together, and that we're involved in the community and socially, and that we're a big part of what these guys do. Because as you know, if the girls and the wives aren't happy, then it doesn't make for a very happy man, and it all translates.
Right, exactly.
It does.
And we talked about, I want to touch on just, the things that are being said online. And then I remember somebody back in the day, I think it was Tammy Reed or someone saying, don't scroll down. Read the headline, don't scroll down.
Yeah.
How do you handle like some of the negative publicity that's out there?
Well, you know what's so interesting that, and I think it's just years and years and years of the business that, and listen, we fully recognize that the pundits were all like, what? Where did this come from? Da 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 da. I get it. It wasn't the hottest coordinator, he wasn't calling the plays. Mike was calling the plays. So I totally understand that. And to me, I think, this is just me, I think that the game has evolved to like, there's so many great coaches on staffs that I think don't often get the nods or looks because they're not calling the plays. And I think that one of the things that I hope that comes out of this is that in the future that great coaches will have opportunities to interview for jobs even though they're not the hot play caller necessarily that year. I think that because I felt like he got a lot of knocks just because he wasn't calling the plays and he wasn't the face every day that you saw during a football game. And I think the reality is that he's a great man. He's a great leader of men. And I think that the Joneses saw that in Brian. So I think that obviously they did, but I think that it was hard to hear the knocks on him. But truly, honestly, Stacey, he always said to me, he's like, babe, I don't need to win the press conference. No one needs to win the press conference. You just have to win. You just have to win. And then you shut him up, So in the beginning, I think it was a little bit like, whoa, well, where's this coming from? Because that's not the man that I know. And I didn't think he deserved all of that. But at the end of the day, it's the world we live in. And it's, it just is the way that the media is sometimes. And it's part of the business. He's always said, he's like, and he doesn't do social media either, and he doesn't get involved in any of it. But I think 10 years ago, it probably would have eaten me alive. Like I would probably have been very, very defensive about the negativity of the hire. But honestly, truly, when I tell you, I just turned it off. I took Twitter off of my phone. And I love to have sports on my TV. If I'm ever home, I'll just have it in the background. Didn't have my TV on. I just refused to let it get to me. I knew that this was such a special opportunity. I knew that this was like a gift, and I wasn't going to let the world tell me differently. And my kids, I was so proud of my kids. They both just laughed it off, shrugged it off. And I just think maybe we're desensitized to some of that these days, because if it's not Brian, then it's going to be someone else next week. I mean, we all know that you can be a genius one day and then you can be a complete idiot, the next week. You're only as good as your last game. So
yeah, they build you up to tear you down. We say that all the time. Yeah.
I mean, Marty was fired after a 14-2 season,
Right.
so if that can happen, it can happen to anybody. So I think through the years, I've just built up this really thick skin, and my circle of people is so small that it just really doesn't bother me. I mean, it really, really doesn't. I would have been lying to you 10 years ago. I would read the Red Zone and all that stuff when it was really big. But it's like water off a duck's back to me.
I think you were in a headspace too where it was like, this is such a blessing and such a gift. I'm not going to let people steal my joy. Like,
Absolutely.
That's what I'm hearing. You're not going to steal our joy. We're going to be happy and praise God about this.
And the interesting thing, Stacey, is, and Pat always said this to me. She said a lot of things, but this was one thing she always said to me. She said, Gemmi, people in the business know. People in the business get it. It's all the outside world that has no idea. They truly have no idea. They have no idea the relationships that go on within the building and the day-to-day stuff, and they have no idea about any of that. And so I learned a long time ago that the people in the business truly get it. Like, if you could have seen his phone, he still has probably 1,000 texts that he's not even been able to get to. But I mean, people from all walks of this business and all walks of professional sports. I mean, it was just such amazing text and comments and excitement for him. So really that's what matters, you know, all the other stuff, the Twitter and all that stuff, it just does not, it really truly does not faze me.
And so you mentioned Pat, your mother-in-law, and you know we all know Brian's dad, Marty Schottenheimer. What does this mean for, you know, and Brian's carving his own path, but what does this mean for, you know, Marty's legacy, the continued Schottenheimer legacy?
I think we all would give anything if he was here. He would be so incredibly proud, and I know that it's been tough for Brian to not have him here. This has been, in the beginning, I think, was just like with all the stuff, because our whole family, everybody came to Dallas for the press conference. I don't think they were quite prepared for, you know how we travel. I don't think they were quite prepared for our show at the press conference. They literally had a section for it. But, you know, I think it just, he's so proud. And there's so many little signs. We know he's there, he's everywhere. I mean, he's everywhere in this office. He's all over. So I know he's watching. I think it just makes us all so proud, sad, you know, that Marty couldn't be here to embrace all of this. He would love it. He'd be, you know, walking up and down the hallways, going in all of these coaches' offices, introducing himself and being a part of all of it. So it makes us really sad, but we know that he's here. We've had little signs. We've had, you know, we just feel him so often. I just would give anything if he was actually here. But I think more than anything, I think it just carries on what Marty started, and I hope that Brian, you know, makes as lasting of an impact on the NFL as Marty did. Because I would say the one thing that people always say to us wasn't about the X's and O's and wins and losses, and he was a great coach. It was more about the relationships that Marty forged along the way. He truly impacted so many people in this business, and I hope that that's what we can continue to do. And I know Brian's doing that already.
Yeah, I know. I think you both are. I really do. So you go from, like, you know, taking these 4 suitcases, because people don't get this. You're thinking, we're going to have to move out of this condo. So right. I want to get as much stuff out of here on this trip as I can. Yep. So you've got 4 suitcases. You go from thinking you're moving, you're going to go back to Nashville, to now you're house hunting in Dallas while he's away working and you're doing everything. That's another inside glimpse of this life that people don't get.
People have no idea. Yeah. It's just, I mean, you wear every hat. You don't wear many hats. You wear every hat. Like, our lawn in Nashville is torn up right now. We have landscapers everywhere. My sister's there trying to kind of hold down the fort there. I'm here. It's just crazy, but I don't know any different, Stacey. And so I think this is just sort of what we do and how we do it, and takes a village for sure. I have great friends that step in and fill the gaps, and it's also really exciting. You know, it's just, this whole new chapter is so exciting for the both of us, and it's just, it still feels a little surreal. I'll tell you, we stayed in a hotel last weekend, and our kids flew in. We were doing a little house hunting, and it was the first time since the announcement that we truly, this is an honest to God story. It had been like 3 weeks, and we have been like 2 ships passing in the night. I mean, he's been hiring a staff. It's just been absolutely insane. And so I've been trying to plug in with all the things senior with Sassy. And anyway, Saturday morning we woke up, and I came out of the shower, and he had on a robe sitting on the couch, and he wasn't on the phone, and he'd ordered a pot of coffee, and he goes, "Hey, go put your robe on." So I'm like, okay. So I did. We sat down on the couch, and we faced each other, and he just looked at me and had tears in his eyes, and he's like, "Hey, I'm the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys." And it was the first moment that we have had to look at each other and say, "Oh, wait, whoa, wow, what? Like, this is real." It has just been so crazy, and we've had zero time, you know, to kind of reflect on all of it. And so we just had this moment where it was like all of these years that we had worked and made so many sacrifices, and he missed so many games and recitals and all that things, to have this moment where we just sat there in front of each other was just really, really a beautiful moment. And I actually took a picture of just our coffee cups, and I just said, I just want to remember this moment. I want to remember this moment, that we don't forget, no matter how, good things are, how bad things are, that you did it, you did it, we did it, it was just a really surreal moment. So
That gives me chills. It does. I mean, because people don't realize, like, they get the job, there's the press, and everybody's on you, and you've got to assemble your staff. And then, like you said, you have 1,000 text messages, and if you don't respond to every one of them, you're a bad, whatever.
Right.
It's just a lot going on, and a lot of people pulling and tugging at you. So to take that minute and just say, wait a minute, let's sit in this moment and be thankful, and just for all of the sacrifices, you did it. You finally did it, to have that moment.
And it's been a really beautiful thing, again, reflecting on the group of friends that we've had. But we have people literally in our church and in our family and our friends that are just truly like praying for us as a couple, and praying for just sort of God's protectance around us as we enter this, because it's a big role, and there's a lot of scrutiny, and we know that. But again, I think we've just been preparing for this for so many years that it just feels like, okay, it's time,
You've been preparing, and you've got a great, mentor, guide, and Pat. But it's a lot. Like, I remember when Anthony was going through it, and I don't need a lot of attention. I'm a loner. I can do my own thing. I worked. But there were honestly times that I wanted to take his phone and smash it with a hammer, because it never ended. Just the barrage of phone calls and texts, and it was like, just give me a hammer. I'm going to end it with this phone. I can't take it.
Well, someone said to him, they said, Shotty, listen, don't reply to any of the texts, because if you do, they're going to ask you a question, or then you got to reply back. So he was like, and he kind of took that as like, there's really a lot of texts, and it's not, everyone knows he sees them and he appreciates it, but truly it's just, you have to put it away. You have to surrender it sometimes and be like, I have to come in, I have to center, and he's really good about that. He's always done a really good job at that. But it's definitely a more, involved role than it ever has been. So
it is, and I'm so thankful that you get to be there full time. That's going to make a big difference. My mother-in-law said one time, even when Anthony's present, he's not present.
Oh yeah.
And that's the truth, because physically he was here, but his mind was in so many different places. It's like, okay, all right. Yeah. I
can see that. This is probably the first time that I feel that, like, I'll say something to him, and I think I said something the other day. We had the flu, we got sick, and I think I said something like I had 100 and whatever temperature. He's like, oh, that's good, babe. And I was like, Brian, I just told you I had a fever. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And that's so not like him. So I can tell he's in a totally different mind space. Yeah. But it's fun. It's been great. And just the entire organization has been amazing. Players, everybody's just really, really excited. So, not always the way you want to walk into something like this when you have a friend who's no longer going to be here, and Mike will do great things, and Mike will go on to be a head coach again, I'm sure. And I think
because you guys were friends with him, he wasn't just your head coach.
Mike was at our wedding, actually. Yeah, Mike was in our wedding many, many years ago. So yeah, we have a long-standing relationship with Mike, and he coached for Marty too. So there's that love and respect that he has for the Schottenheimer family, and of course we do for him and all of his accomplishments. So sometimes, to be paid and take a year off, it's the best thing. Yes. I've always said this: encourage your husband to do it. It's so healthy, and it's just such a recentering time. So,
Gemmi, I know that you're house hunting in Dallas. You're busy, but just not to pry. What are you guys gonna do to celebrate? Because you have to take a moment this off season to celebrate. So have you thought about what you want to do because I know you take epic vacations. I'm not going to go into those and tell all your business.
Right. But, we do love but the summer before our son went went to college, he wanted to go to Greece. He got to choose the trip. So he wanted to go to Greece, which is where I wanted to go too. So that was an amazing trip. So Sassy gets to choose the trip this summer. She wants to go to Hawaii, but we're kind of trying to talk her out of going to Hawaii because Sutton may actually be doing YWAM, which is called Youth with the Mission, and taking like some time off and going and doing some missionary work stuff. So that would be, he would go to Kona, Hawaii for a little while. So anyway, we're like, well, maybe we're going to go to Hawaii with him. So maybe not Hawaii this summer. So we're still trying to figure that out. I think Brian has some time off at the end of March, maybe. So we have a couple friends that we like to travel with. So I'm sure we'll try to sneak away. But as you know, the first year is just complete insanity. You know,
Your head is spinning. It really is.
It's spinning, and it's like I truly don't. I mean, I keep saying like I'm laughing, but like I need a clone right now. I mean, I truly need someone to be me and kind of step into all these different spots. But it always gets done. You know, it does. So I'm not really sure officially how we'll celebrate. We'll do something with our kids. We'll go to the beach this summer, which we always do with our extended family, and then we'll take a trip somewhere. So I haven't figured that out. And then I think he and I will try to get away during that, you know, period of time that he has off and with our friends and just kind of celebrate. We've had a couple of little like mini celebrations with families and friends and stuff. But we do need to just kind of get away and put it down for a little bit before it kicks off. But it's hard.
Reconnect. Yeah.
Yes, reconnect. Yes. So.
Gemmi, thank you. I know that you are extremely busy with a lot going on, and we tried to do this even before it was announced that Brian got the job, and you had it scheduled, and I reached out and you said, my head is just spinning because he was interviewing, and I'm like, oh, you can't focus on anything. I get it. So thank you. You know, I appreciate it. I'm like, I have to get her before the Cowboys get her an agent and a PR person, and I have to go through that.
Oh, you're cute. Well, I want to thank you, Stacey, because I think you've given a voice to the strongest person in a relationship. The wife to a football coach is so incredibly important and valued and sometimes not appreciated enough. So you've done a phenomenal job of letting these wives just talk through, because truly, we've often said no one really understands what we walk through. I mean, it appears to be glitz and glamour at times, but it's lonely, and no one really understands those Mondays after a loss, or trying to move your children, or having to stay back when your husband's taking a job and you've got to stay back and finish, and you're ready to be with your husband, and you've got to get kids acclimated and all the things that go into that. So I think it's so amazing what you've done, and you've given us a platform to just talk and speak about what we go through, and I love that, and I can't think of anybody better to do it than you. You're so compassionate and passionate about what you do, and we just love you, and you've just really, really touched so many of us, and we appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Gemmi. I really do. That means a lot coming from you. So thank you. And I want to have you back, you know, maybe later after the end of the season. We'll celebrate some success, hopefully, at the end of the season. So, you know, we love you guys, and thanks for joining me again on Superwives of the NFL. You know, good luck to you guys and the Cowboys. We're going to face each other twice a year.
Yes, I know. So we're going to have to either you come to Dallas or I'll come to Washington for a game. And see, that's the beautiful part. We can sit together and we can cheer for our husbands, but we can walk out together and still be friends.
And we'll be friends, and we'll have champagne. You know, there's going to be
absolutely. So. Yep.
All right,
I love you, friend.
Love
Thank you.
All right, take care, Gemmi.
Give Lynn a hug for me.
I will. Same.